Hi, welcome to the Coach Barnabas Podcast. I'm Corey. This is episode 93 of the Coach Barnabas Podcast. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend it here. I want to honor your time and keep this brief. Something that I thought of recently, and it hit me in a very profound way. Maybe it will you as well. Maybe you'll roll your eyes and go, duh. But for me, it was very profound, and therefore, I'm going to share it. I was just thinking about different books of the Bible and how the books are named after the central figures or the authors of those particular books. So, the book of Job, the central figure is Job. And if you know the story about Job, profound. I encourage you to read that book. So we think of other books of the Bible. You have Isaiah, 1st and 2nd Samuel, you have the prophets. You get into the New Testament, the first 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Named after people. You have 1st and 2nd Timothy, and you have 3 Johns, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. So the point is that these are all books of the Bible named after people, but they all talk about God. They all talk about Jesus. They lead to Jesus. So in a tangible sense, what's the book of Corey about? What's my book about? What is the story of my life? If I'm the central figure and it's all about any achievements or my story of where I've been and what I've done, who I've met, and how have I failed? How have I succeeded? What are the extraordinary things that have happened, whether they were good or bad? If it's about me, then whoop-de-doo. Okay, my life isn't so interesting that it deserves a biography. But does the book of Corey tell about Jesus? Does the book of Corey talk about the goodness and the faithfulness of God? That is what I want my book to be. And so Coach Barnabas is basically a chapter in what you might call the book of Corey. And so each of these episodes is maybe a page in that book where I'm sharing something that God's put on my heart. Maybe it's from a past experience. I've shared a lot of stories with you, how I've, maybe it in itself didn't seem like it had anything to do with God, but there's a parallel. Maybe it's a metaphor of God's love and faithfulness that you can find by having a relationship with God. I want my life, I want the book of Corey to be that, to be a story of God's faithfulness, even when I've not been faithful, that God loved me, even when I didn't even love myself, and I certainly didn't love him, that God loved me, and when I did surrender my heart and surrender my life to him, say, God, I want you to be Lord of my life. I want to walk where you want me to walk. I want you to go where you want me to go. I want to do whatever it is you want me to do. When I surrendered that, when I gave him the keys to my life and said, my life is yours, God has given me everything I need to live this life. And he's also, allowed me to experience amazing things. And some of those amazing things were difficult challenges. For instance, now it's been almost 6 months since I had a stroke in mid-July. Through that, it's like I experienced the faithfulness of God in a difficult situation, and the mercy of God, the grace of God. And so I've told that story, and I'm still telling that story, not because, Corey, wow, what you went through. It's not that. It's about how God saw me through it, how God was faithful, how God miraculously placed me exactly where I needed to be in order to survive that stroke in the most miraculous way. I was standing in a hospital, literally in the shadow of another hospital that has a renowned stroke center. Right now, as I record this, I'm 40 minutes at least from that particular place. When it happened, I was, like I said, in the shadow of that building in another hospital on the same property. So these are just the fingerprints of God that cannot be denied. And that's part of my story. That's part of the book of Corey. And so, but there's so many other things, and I've tried to share them with you, as best I can, throughout these episodes, is just saying, this is what God's put in my heart, whether it's something I've learned from my own life or something I've learned from somebody else, but God will inspire me to see his fingerprints on these different things. And so that's, what I'm doing today, is sharing how God is saying, God is still writing my story. I'm not writing it. God's writing my story. And then I'm just doing my best to share what God's doing in my heart and life with you in a way that I hope encourages you, challenges you, inspires you to draw closer into relationship with Him, to embolden you to share your story with somebody else, and because your story is about Jesus as well. And people need to hear your story, and they need to see God's faithfulness in your life, so they might be more inspired to enter into relationship with Him as well, and let Him begin to write their story. So that's how this goes. So I just wanted to share that with you. Take a few minutes and just encourage you to look back at your life. Maybe you want to literally write it down, start a journal, and just think about the stories of your life. Think about the different chapters of your life. Maybe, grade school age, from 1 to 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever. Then you went into middle school or junior high, those years, high school years, college years, whatever. Your single life. If you're married, what your married life is like. If you have children, what it was like, before you had children, after you had children. You name it. There's any way you can partition the different segments of your life, but how did God reveal Himself to you? How did He show Himself? Even if you didn't know He was there, even if you were unaware of Him, you weren't living for Him, can you look back on it and see how God was present in your life? Bet you can if you really take some time to think about it. Because I can look back at the years BC, before Christ, in my life, where I was kind of going through certain motions. I certainly wasn't seeking Him in any aspect of my life, much less, contemplating, is what I'm doing sin, or what I'm thinking about doing, is it sin? Is it going to grieve the heart of God? Are there going to be potential consequences to me making these decisions? Anything like that. But I can still look back at those years and see the hand of God. I can look back and see the trail of breadcrumbs that led me to see the hand of Jesus in my life, even before I recognized Him, before I was living for Him, before I learned what His voice sounds like in my life, before I'd cracked open a Bible to read anything in it, you name it. So, but now I'm in a different place, and it's like, but at the same time, I'm still a student. I still, every day, want God to teach me something about Himself. I want to learn something. I want to learn things about myself that need to be removed, eradicated from my life, because I want my life to be a reflection of Him. I want the book of Corey to be about Jesus. And so today I'm going to be having a couple meetings with people that I hope honor Him and will bring Him glory. And, I think there's plans for future things that I dream of. And if God allows it, then perhaps something will stem from at least one of these conversations I'm having today. I hope another conversation leads to a greater understanding of Jesus in the church, and what we believe, and what we teach, and what we're striving to achieve. And that is just to help people draw closer in their relationship with Jesus. That's what it's all about. So let your story, it's continuing to be written. If you're able to watch this, your story is still in progress. It is still being written. So I encourage you to just share it with people and learn from it yourself, and see how God has brought you through things. Maybe there are things you thought you could never endure, but God saw you through it. Even if you didn't realize He was there, He saw you through it. And maybe there are certain things you look at and go, unless there but for the grace of God, my life would be entirely different, and not in a positive way. What has God brought you through? Okay. What has God spared you from? What did God let you experience and let you endure so you grow in appreciation in your relationship with God? How is God using your story to minister to other people? These are the things that I really want you to really think about, explore, experience, and share. Okay, that's it. Your story is beautiful, and it deserves to be known. But let your story be about Jesus. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you again for joining me. I greatly appreciate it. Be encouraged. Be an encourager. I look forward to talking again very soon. Take care.